behavior. Yeah, you're living within your means, okay? I didn't have a clue about that. Things like interest rates, I didn't understand. Okay, we did it in math in school, where I think principal times interest equals, but that's the best that was done, okay? And then I used to feel like I'm a victim of circumstances. The economy, my employer, these friends of mine don't like me when I don't have money. Yeah, it just happened that way. When you don't have money, your friends are nowhere to be seen. So I used to feel that I'm a victim of circumstances. So came the turning point, which is Centonomy. And that's why I've titled it Reflecting on a 10-Year Journey. Yeah. Over the 10 years, that start I had, it's what I want to walk you through so that then you get to see the impact it has had in my life. Now, this is a personal story. I need to put that disclaimer. If you don't agree with some of the things, it's personal story. You have your personal story. Yeah? Join Centonomy, you will see how it pans out. So what happens after Centonomy? The mindset shifted. And I think if I remember correctly, one of the first things you'll be talked about is mindset. Okay? Money became a tool, not the goal. Remember before I thought the goal is money? Yeah? I got to learn that money is a means to an end. So have the end in mind. Then money will facilitate that end. Otherwise, if just money comes in, it will do everything and anything. Yeah? I had to take a growth mindset. Yeah? Then also, one of the questions were asked in that mindset class was, and I think Charles highlighted a bit on it, there was a question that were asked. If you are stripped of your titles in society, who are you without those? So you're stripped of your title at work. You're stripped of your marital status. Okay? You're stripped of whether you are a mother or a father or your parenthood. Who are you as an individual? So when we were asked that question, it hit home. And over the 10 years, I've had to develop a strong personal identity that is independent of my employer, independent of my parenthood status, okay? And I think that also changed the emotions that are evoked around money, yeah? Because my identity is not pegged to the things that society kind of glamorizes. And it speaks into what Charles says of simplicity. Because you know who you are. You're comfortable in your own skin, yeah? You don't have to please anyone. And we'll see how that identity came in handy. Okay, we could go to the next slide. Okay. We went into savings. One of the things that Centonomy does is teach you expense tracking. That when you attend, you will learn, okay? After tracking expenses, then you get to realize where the money actually goes. And it doesn't matter whether you're a student or you're working. You're all earning an income. If you're a student, you're getting an allowance from your parents. If you're working, your employer is giving you an income, yeah? Tracking expenses is a behavior then I started. So you can imagine if you're tracking expenses for 10 years, what does that do to you? Okay, you become mean, yes. To others, you become extremely mean, yeah? But at least you direct money to where you want it to go. You're able to do a personal audit and see, did the money go to the things that are important to me? Or did it go to the things that are showing off to others how I've made it in life? And for me, that habit to date, from my phone, I'm able to show you, for the last 10 years, where has my money gone? For the last 10 years. Yes, I've made some mistakes. We are human beings, by the way. You will make mistakes, but the cost of those mistakes will be lower because you've developed this habit. Remember, I used to live within my means. Now I adopted a behavior of living below my means. So if I've earned 1 million, I will spend 800,000. Okay? So that's now a habit I took up. it goes back to Charles's recommendation. Yeah, so it's income minus savings. Before, I used to do income, yeah, but now it was inverted. We were taught budgeting, and that I took it up. So these days, we don't have expenses that come out of the blue. And that has also helped me because I did Centonomy when I was about 25. That was before I was married. At that time, I wasn't seeing someone. I wasn't seeing someone who didn't know I was seeing them. That confusion, we had not yet gotten there. So once I got in the habits in Centonomy and went into that confusion, there was clarity. And once you have that clarity, you're able to sail through that confusion. Yeah, and it messes up your money, especially for the gentlemen, because we are the ones who foot the bills. Yeah, the ladies just show up, most times even with an extra friend. But anyway, that's on a side note. Then I also started doing goal-based saving. It's not enough to save. Save with the goal in mind. And this is my personal story. So you might disagree with that point, but this is what I learned about myself. When I have a target or a goal to achieve, because remember, it's the goals first before the money comes in. When I have a goal, it's a motivation for me to save. So that then when these distractions come in, yeah, when the lady selling fruits passes by, yeah, then the gentleman with the shoes willing to give you on credit in the office passes by. You have something to motivate you, at least to say no to those temptations. And by the way, the temptations are going to be there. There are going to be many. And in this age, it's worse because the temptations come on your phone in form of adverts. Okay? They have all these nice offers. One of the biggest temptations I had to fight was this idea of buy now, pay later. Now, that has just come into the Ugandan economy. In Nairobi, it used to be so easy to access credit. To date, you can actually use to access credit back then. I remember trying to get a loan here in 2016. It was hectic. I think you even need to bring a birth certificate of your grandfather. It was that bad. But I think that has changed of late. Maybe it's easy. I've not tried to do it. But that access to cheap credit, kind of becomes a temptation if you don't have the discipline. Because iPhone 17 has come out. Buy now, pay later. You can access it instantly. Yeah. A new car has come out. Buy now, pay later. There was even buy now, pay later for furniture. Yeah, you can swap the old furniture and bring in the new. It's very tempting, and it finds you at the convenience of your home. Please avoid that temptation. And just talked about avoid taking credit for consuming, because you find a phone that you would have bought at maybe 3 million for an iPhone 17. 1 year down the line, you have paid an extra 1 million. What could that 1 million have done for you, if you had not bought it? And it goes back to the identity. Must you have that iPhone 17? Yeah? Which you will only use to take photos in the bathroom window mirrors. I've never understood that logic. Like, what's with bathroom mirrors and iPhones? Yeah? So you see, it goes back also to identity, because then that determines your money habits. So for me, having a goal where I'm saving was very important, because it was the motivation. It was the fire I needed. Yeah? I even went to an extent where I would, if I had a goal I wanted to achieve, I would get a photo of it, put it on the wall of my bedroom. Every time I wake up, I get to know the reason why I'm saving. It had to be that way for myself. Maybe you're strong enough. Your prayers are so strong, you're not led into temptation. Me, I used to be led into a lot of temptation, and I needed something very strong, and that was a goal. Goal-based saving. Some lifestyle changes I had to make after attending Centonomy. I had to pack food. I had to cook food at home. To give you context, in Nairobi, food is very expensive. You guys will be shocked. What you buy here as a buffet for 10,000. On the other side, it is maybe, if you're lucky, very tiny piece of rice and maybe beans, if you're lucky. Yeah? And our appetite as Ugandans. So you want to eat a lot, but it costs a lot. So I used to spend a lot of money. On average, you would find yourself spending between 600 to 800 Kenya shillings for lunch. That's 20K Uganda shilling. Imagine you're spending that for lunch every day. And still you're not full. That was even the worst part. Yeah? So I had to start cooking for myself so that then the cost is lowered. Because when I tracked the expenses, that's why I saw some of them, money is going there. They didn't make sense. Because I would imagine how much more would I get if I was back home. Yeah? Maybe it will be different for you. But when you track your expenses, you will see money going places you're not comfortable with. Yeah? Yeah, I had to do my own laundry. Back then, you would find, when I was here, I would pay the lady who washes clothes, 5,000, right? I don't know if that's still the going rate. She comes over the weekend, you pay 5,000. Now, back that side, it's a different ballgame. The bare minimum you pay someone coming to clean your house is most probably 800. Yeah, because you come, wash the clothes, clean the house. Then I realized every weekend I'm paying 800 shillings. It did not make sense. Of course, that's after tracking the expenses. There's a trick someone in the class gave us, who was also a fellow student. He said, when you get those expenses that are going somewhere you don't like, multiply them by 12 months so that you know in a year how much is going to, let's say, laundry, how much is going to food. When you calculate how much in a year goes to those areas, now that's for my case, maybe your case is different. Yeah? That fruits lady that passes by the office, get that multiplied by 12 months. Yeah? You'll be amazed by how much money goes there and the alternatives you're foregoing, that expense multiplied by 12 months. When it does not make sense, I'll not take it on board, especially if it's an expense that is going to be repetitive. Yeah, because when you see that money at the end of the year, it's too much. That's if it does not make sense. Of course, now I had to live a focused lifestyle. And Charles has put it simply, simplicity. Yeah? I've had this shirt since 2017. Yeah. It has done weddings. It has done baptisms. It's here at Centonomy. Yeah, none of you has seen me in this shirt before. So to you, it's new. Yeah? But simplicity. Yeah? Of course, for people who are famous, you need to change clothes. We've seen you in too many. We can't see you in the same clothes. Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah? So the long and short of it is simplicity. Yeah? And simplicity can only happen when you're comfortable in your own skin. When you're comfortable in your own identity. When you don't have to please society. When you do things for you, not for others. And I think that's one of the greatest challenges that we have. My classmate, who even used to be a mediocre performer, is doing better than me. How? I have a rude awakening if you're a student here. That person who's a mediocre, they most probably do better than you in life. So stop competing. We all have our own personal journeys. So please run your race. That's the long and short of it. Run your own race. Yeah? And money will become much easier. Of course, I avoided bad debt. I told you the temptation of buy now, pay later. And they would even come to the office and they tell us, you don't have to wait to save all these years for you to get a nice phone, get nice furniture. Yeah? And even we had the influencers who are advertising this. And the influencer tells you, hey, when you take this furniture, you look good. Please be careful what also you get influenced on. Otherwise, you'll end up helping someone meet their KPIs. Yeah? No offense to influencers. I will not look directly at them. But you need to run your own race. Yeah? At the end of the day, whatever is being influenced to you, let it make sense to you. Let it not be to help show off to society or show that you're doing well. For the men in the room, we are very few. I stuck to one woman. It's a financially correct move I got to learn. When you stick to one woman, your money expenses use. So gentlemen, stick to one woman if you can, yeah, because it helps reduce most of the expenses that you make. I've already talked about eliminating the need for validation from others. So whatever I do, it should be for what the identity that I've come up with. Could we go the next? I also going to learn about investing. Yes, I used to believe land is the only investment. I was also a victim. And I have an argument to make for the people who believe land is an investment. We have had a lot of land injustices. Some of us have grown up in homes where we have never owned land, and we've been moving from rental to so look at things in another perspective. So, okay, you've sorted your parents. Can you now move on to something else? Yeah. So it's not bad to want land, but at least diversify. Are you understood the whole concept of risk versus reward? Okay? And when you join Centonomy, you will get to understand. I got to understand the different investment vehicles. I had a question about that. My answer to you, join Centonomy. We paid to get this information. Just pay also to get the same. And that investment you make, as you will see the results when you go to the next slide, it pays off almost 100%. Yeah, and with the time, because remember, these are lifelong lessons. These are lessons no one in class will teach you. In primary, no one talks about money. In secondary, no one does. University is even worse. They don't even hit on it. Yeah, at least in secondary and primary, they will talk about economics. Yeah, and maybe some bit of SST, but no one will talk about, yet this is what we are training to come and manage once we finished school. I had to also invest with a purpose. Remember the goal-based saving? I also realized myself, if I don't have a goal as to where I'm investing, I will not be driven to invest. Okay? So my encouragement, have a reason as to why you're investing. What is that you're trying to achieve? Have a goal as to why you're doing that investment. Otherwise, you'll be forced to withdraw back your money and eat it. Yeah? If you don't have something motivating you, it's going to be very hard for you to sustain it. Because remember what I was talking about, you have to sustain it. Sustainability is the most important here. Okay? It's very hard for you to manage money, grow it, if you're not consistent over a long period of time. Otherwise, you go for the get-rich-quick schemes, and we shall see your adverts on our feeds. I think the most common one is AIM Global, or those usual schemes that usually come up on our feeds, and you're leaning on someone's car, yeah, and you're telling us how you bought a car in 3 months, yeah, only to find that was not your car. I mean, we have seen it. So it requires consistency over a long period of time. Of course, I got to seek more knowledge now on investments. Remember, for me, I did it with the content being focused for the Kenyan economy. But I needed to come and invest back home. So I had to look for books of local authors here who are talking about the same thing. And guess what? They all talked about the same thing. The only thing that changed was the currency. Yeah? And another thing I got to appreciate about Centonomy is that I got to learn about how to deal with forex exchange or forex exchange losses. Yeah? So, because now we are in a global village, you'll be here in Uganda, you're working for a company, let's say in America, they're paying in dollars. Okay? When you're negotiating your salary, you need to buffer up the forex exchange losses. Okay? I think it was late last year, the dollar started going down. So, late last year. So if you are earning $1,000, it would not convert to the same Ugandan shillings, yeah? And you cannot go to Kalere market and pay with your dollars. Will they accept? So you need to convert it. So that was also my situation. I was earning Kenyan shillings. I need to bring that money back home to be invested. So I got to learn, how do I handle forex exchange losses? Yeah? And you need to also think about, I think even for content creators, we're paid in dollars. for some of the platforms. So you need to learn about how do you handle forex exchange losses. Yeah, because it's always up, down. It's not always up all the time. And that was a very key thing that I got to learn. And what that did for me, I got to realize, you know what, it's better if I paid in my local currency because I'm losing out a lot. I'll give you an example. In 2016, we used to exchange the Kenya shillings against the Uganda shilling at 37. So if I had 100,000 Kenya shillings, I would send home 3,700,000. As at today, the Kenya shilling is exchanging at around 27. Yeah, the last transaction I did, it was 27.5, and that was in December. So that means the same 100,000 Kenya shilling, you're receiving 2.7. How much have you lost? That's a lot of money. But you cannot understand that if you don't do Centonomy. Especially those who have hopes of doing jobs that are paying in foreign currencies. And even if you're not doing foreign currencies, if you're a trader or you're an entrepreneur, because someone asked the question, she's an entrepreneur, you're going to buy things in foreign currency. So you need to understand how do you deal with foreign currency. And I don't think there's any better person to do that for you than Centonomy. We could go to the next slide. Let's go to the results. So those are the lessons I learned. Let's see the results over the 10 years. What has changed? What have been some of the achievements? I have learned the idea of paying myself first every month. So I've used the formula that Charles talked about. And I've lived by it for the last 10 years. It's income minus saving. And that's what I've been living with for the last 10 years, after understanding what Centonomy taught me. And that has done a lot, because then it limits me a bit, yeah? I've established an emergency fund of 6 months of my living expense. So remember the number that Charles talked about? So today I can, if I was part of the USAID team that lost income, I would not have panicked for 6 months. In fact, you'll be given an Excel that helps you calculate your net worth, yeah? And you're able to see, if I lost my income, for how long can I survive based on my net worth? So you get all your investments, all your liabilities, and then calculate your net worth. As at last year, I would have survived for 33 months. As at Jan, the last calculation did, I'm able to survive for 39 months. So if I sell off everything I own, I can maintain this same lifestyle for 39 months. But that has been a 10-year journey. So this has been done over 10 years. So don't wake up and expect to achieve the same in 1 year. Okay? But if you start today, in 10 years, who remembers what was happening 10 years ago in their life, like it was yesterday? Because 10 years ago was 2016. You remember what you did for New Year's 2016, right? Yeah, most probably your heart was broken. You don't want to go back on New Year's. Yeah? But you do remember like it was yesterday. 10 years from now will feel like yesterday. So if you start now, you will thank yourself in 10 years. I also now make informed decisions. So when someone comes selling to me land, I'm able to make an informed decision. So land is not the only thing I invest in. Because remember, I took the goal-based investment. So if you're bringing me a product, let's say for investing, especially insurance agents can be really, really insistent to buy their products, I'm able to make an informed decision. Because I know the investment vehicles, I know the goal I want to achieve, and it's very easy to say yes or no because it aligns to what I want to achieve in life. I've been able to achieve a savings rate of 30% of my net income. Yeah? And what we did in Centonomy, also part of the mindset exercise, was to tap into those things that are not necessarily part of your job. The things that you do naturally. So how we've gotten to this 30%, increasing the income, but also adjusting the expenses. Twofold. And by the way, you can only reduce your expenses to a great extent. Like, you can only push it so far. Otherwise, you will live a miserable life. Yeah? So your chances are higher if you work on the income side. but we also need to watch out on the expenses. One thing that helped me work on the income side that we learned in Centonomy was tapping into those things that come natural to you. So it's not part of your daily job. So let's say you're an accountant, but you're a good cook. In this room, we have some of the best chefs. But because that is underlooked, you feel that being empowered, you cannot go to the kitchen. We have some of the best chefs, because how do you know you're the best chef? Every time you cook home food, all the relatives that have eaten that food praise you. But you keep those praises aside and still want to only focus on the accountant job. That is a kitchen or a restaurant waiting to happen. Things have changed. You can cook at home and deliver. You can wake up early in the morning, make your meals that have been ordered, send a border guy to deliver them, and they warm them in the microwave at work. Especially corporate people. Corporate people, we are so lazy. Those are your best clients. We are so lazy, and that's why any organization that focuses on convenience makes money. Because we are very lazy as corporate people. We don't want to walk to the market and buy food and cook it, so the delivery guys will make money on us. Imagine that's an area that you could have untapped. Yeah? Some of you are the best interior designers this world will ever see. But because you focus so much on your job as a doctor, how am I seen moving around with curtains? I have a degree. But you've been doing this from childhood. Most probably your parents had that business. But you feel because of your status in society, you're not much into that. We have some of the best farmers. Some of you have raised cattle, goats, and you're good at it. But because of the status you have, the job you have, the title you have, how am I seen, in cow dung? And that's what Centonomy helped me open up. What are those talents that you have that you could tap into and they make you money? And that's how I got to grow my income. Because then I started doing the things and focusing on the things that used to come natural to me. How do you know you have a good talent? More than 2 people will tell you you're good at it. 3 people. If 3 people tell you you're good at something, please focus on it. And usually it's these informal settings. Yeah? You do something and people are like, wow, that's nice. And it's repeated. Over years, you hear sometimes, I don't have enough money. Yet you have a gift that you could exploit. And that's what Centonomy helped open up in that mindset. Yeah? Of course, I've gotten to passive income. One of the things I wanted to do that I've achieved last year, I'm still in last year, was to make sure that what I really hated was another person determining how my life pans out. So it would not make sense to me, because I've lost a job, my children can't go to school. It just couldn't sit well with me. That I've lost a job and I can't pay school fees. For me, I never wanted that. So over the years, because I started about 5 years ago, and it goes back to intentional living. The moment my wife got pregnant, I started planning for that child. So you don't get shocked. The child is here, they are 3 years, school fees is due, and you're wondering, where do I get the money? So what I've done is that I've invested enough to pay for the school. So the school fees for the children does not come from my salary. Meaning that if I lost my income, my children will still go to school. And it goes back to the goal-based investment. And that was my goal. That I've been able to achieve. That even if there is any catastrophe in my life, even if I died right now, money to pay for school fees is there. Let their mother look for shoes and uniform, but the school fees will be catered for. That kind of gives you also peace of mind, knowing that whatever shocks come at you, you're not going to run mad. Yeah. And that is on passive income. I've also been consistent at expense tracking, because now it has become a habit. Yeah. So before I check on TikTok who's dancing how, I look at my expense tracker for the day. What have I not put in? Yeah. Where has the money gone? Then once the month ends, I look at, because these apps are also very nice. They're able to summarize for you, draw for you graphs, put for you charts. Where have you spent most of the money? And if I'm comfortable with the picture I see, we proceed to the next month. If I'm not comfortable with the picture I see, changes happen the next month. Yeah? Of course, I've had to consistently grow my net worth and establish a rich cash flow. Now, what I was talking about of consistency, you will not do it unless you're consistent and you have a goal that is driving you to do it. Yeah. So, invested in land and other portfolios. I can't show you the numbers because it's personal to me. If you want to know how to calculate it, join Centonomy. They will show you how to calculate that. Let's look at some of the lessons that have been very key for me and fundamental. They have been defining moments. Yes, that's the right word. They have been defining moments that, had I not made those decisions, most probably my life would not be where it is in terms of finances. One thing that I've come to learn and live by is that you don't need more money fast. And the reason is money is a means to an end. It's not the end itself. And for me, that was a very big shift that Centonomy did in my life. Because once you start reasoning that way, because there are cases where you sit down with friends and you're talking about the plans you have, they're like, where will you get the money from? And my answer is always, first have the plans. Then now let's figure out where is the money going to come from. And maybe if the reality hits that we can't achieve all of them, then we'll say, this is what we shall achieve first, then we shall achieve this next. But first have the plan. So that when that surprise money comes in, for those who are working, you get a bonus at the end of the year. It will find a plan ready, seated waiting for that money, rather than the bonus coming in, and then you're thinking, where do I now spend this money? Yeah? Who do I show off to? Yeah? And it helps a lot. And of course, you need better money habits. Why Centonomy works? It's practical. You're not going to talk about things that you learned of how, I think, James Speak is the one who discovered Lake Victoria, how in biology we used to be taught about, is it animalia, things that are not practical and you can't relate to. I've never applied the history we learned in school of how the Portuguese came to the East African coast in 14-something. Irrelevant things. It's practical. It's things that you will see change in your life if you're intentional. Yeah? And of course, you're not going to pay that money for you to just sit and not put those things into practice. It's relatable. Because you will hear from people like us the things we've been able to do. And what I've shown you is what I'm comfortable sharing in a public domain. If we sat on one-on-one, we would even discuss more. Yeah? But what I've just shown is what I'm comfortable sharing in the public domain. It helps with your behavior because you start with mindset. I was shocked. In the first class, I went with the expectation of, let these guys show me how to make money, because that was the goal. These guys are going to teach me how to make money, and I'll make a lot of money. Then the first class, WACEKE tells us mindset. I was like, now why are these guys wasting our time? I know my mind, yeah? But then you get later to realize why you need first work on the mindset, why you need first work on the behaviors before you look at all these other things. And it gives lifelong value, as you have seen. My call to action to you, start early, start now. And I think Charles also mentioned it, start now. Start where you are. And by the way, this was the first time I was meeting Charles. So if we have said the same things, it's a coincidence. We did not plan to tell you the same things. But you can see there is some things that are in common in the message that we are giving. That means there's some truth to the principles that we are giving to you. If you earn money, you need money skills. So do sign up for Centonomy. Otherwise, you will look back 5 years later and you're not able to put a finger to where your money has gone and what you've done with your money. It's going to give you a foundation. So once you've done Centonomy, please don't rest that you've made it, you've arrived. It's going to give you a foundation. Seek for more knowledge. Okay? Listen, these days information is on our phones. Before you see that TikTok dance, there are TikTokers who are talking about money. Yeah? So it's also good that you leverage the information you consume on social media, because there's a lot of information on social media that might not help you. So when you're subscribing to TikTok, when you're subscribing to YouTube, subscribe to those channels that then address what you or what your goals are. Yeah? It's useless for you to see a trending song and you remain the same that day. But when you listen to someone talk about money and you go action it in your life, it uplifts you. Then, of course, stay hungry for information, seek out more information. Yeah, sign up today and your future self will thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, because of time, we'll only take 2 questions. The first people to raise their hands, 1, 2, going once, going twice. You don't have 1, okay, done. The online team, 1, 2 questions, and we are done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I just wanted to ask for the name of that expense tracking app so that we can all install it and start right away.
Okay, there are quite a number, so I wouldn't want to spoon food you. Just Google. These days, the information is there. Expense tracking apps. Yeah, just Google. But the one I'm using right now is called Money Manager. There is one called Gulak Expense Tracker. There's so many on the Play Store. Yeah, I'm an Android person. So guys of Apple, I don't know about what works that side. But just search for expense trackers. Yeah. And if you don't get an app on your phone, you just put in your notes what you spent today. Yeah, it will help.
Last question. Going once, going twice, gone. All right. Joshua, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him another round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that just as Joshua said, 2016 feels like yesterday. Can you imagine when you're in 2036 and when you look back, it feels like yesterday, but you didn't here, and then you walk out of here, and then we meet in 2036, and you are worse off than you were today. So ladies and gentlemen, just to continue the discussion, because the flow is going really, really well. Online, I've seen all your questions, even just speaking into the classes, and the details are being shared. I'd like to warmly welcome our founder, the founder and author of the Making Sense book, the founder of Centonomy, Ms. WACEKE NDUATI.
Is it afternoon yet? Not yet. Good morning. Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited to be here. Aren't you guys enjoying this? Yeah, are you learning a lot? Can you see what, they didn't meet each other, but what Charles and Joshua have talked about is almost the same thing. And I kid you not, even me, I didn't meet with them, but I feel I'm actually going to talk about the same thing, yeah? And I'll tell you more about the genesis of how Centonomy 101 came to be. But let me start with what the theme is first, yeah? Resolution. So did you make resolutions this year? Did you make them? And how are you already feeling? Yeah? January 10th, yeah? So for those who have not met, my name is WACEKE NDUATI. First of all, I am a student of life, and I think God put me here so that my message could become message. And I will tell you about my message. So don't think I started Centonomy because I did things perfectly. It's because I made so many mistakes that I felt I shouldn't have made, that I said, hey, I need to have people who can have this conversation with me. Are these people in this room? Yeah? So every January, we make resolutions. How are you feeling about your resolutions? Charged. Yeah, they should. If you're not feeling charged about resolution, then there's something wrong with that resolution. Yeah? So we say this year will be different. We'll save more, correct? We'll be more disciplined. Some of you are like, we'll buy land, but maybe now you're rethinking it. Yeah? We'll finally get serious about money. And then what happens after a few weeks? It just takes a few weeks if we're not already there. Because we're in the second week of January, yeah? Then you guys, by the time you go through an election, What happens after that? Life happens, correct? Life resumes, right? Rent resumes, correct? School fees resumes, yeah? The black tax requests resume, yeah? Again, those unexpected expenses that you've been unexpecting all your life but keep showing up, but you keep calling them unexpected, resume, yeah? Like school fees, we treat it like it's a surprise in January, yeah? Fatigue, tiredness, and life without drama, we go back to the same thing. So let me start this off gently. We don't struggle because we don't care, correct? We don't struggle because we don't want to make a change. We've wanted to make a change for a long time, correct? Let me break it down. We struggle because we're trying to solve a daily life problem with an annual decision. You've made resolutions, but how are they showing up every day? So you're trying to solve a daily life problem through a declaration in one that we do once a year. It is not possible, and we have to change that script. Because wealth does not change in January. It changes in the boring steps on ordinary days, when you're in the office, when you're in the class, in small decisions that nobody is going to clap for you for. That is when it actually changes. So I hope you've written them down. Don't solve a daily problem with an annual decision. Okay, that's the first thing. So if it has always felt overwhelming, always felt heavy, always felt unsettled, always wondered why you can't actually go there, I'm just here to tell you, that's why you're here today. We've got to interrupt something, because you see the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different return, yeah? So somehow about how we've been taught to approach money, no matter where the lessons came from, is not working. Something about how we've been taught to live actually is not working. So what did we default to in life? What did we all default to? And this happens whether people are young, whether people are old, whether they're Gen Z, whether they're Gen Alpha, whether they're Gen X, whether they're baby boomers. It all happened to everybody. What did we default to? We were given a script. You had no control. You landed, correct? You landed here on earth and there was a script for you to follow. Correct. What did that script say? Go to school, get a job, graduate. When we were growing up in Kenya, we had this song called Someni Vijana. Yeah? But it used to say, that was Swahili, but it basically used to say, study, work hard, and after you study, you will get a job. And it was ingrained in every Kenyan, yeah, in my generation. Because every morning, as we were all going to school, that was a song on the radio that was played every day for us, yeah? So we go to school, we get a job, we graduate, we even build a business, and then what happens? You start a family, you take a loan, then you aspire for the same things, you want to buy a house, and then life continues happening, and somehow this script is supposed to end up where? Somehow, where is it supposed to end up? Mysteriously, where is this script supposed to end up? By magic. Where is this script supposed to end up? Freedom, financial freedom, abundance, money, wealth. Somehow, it's meant to end up there. And you can look very good doing the script, by the way. Correct? People look very good. They're driving the right car. You can look very responsible. Yep. Joshua and Charles were talking about titles. You can even have the right title. But then you have to ask yourself, and then what? Why am I still feeling some sort of way? How do I still? Because you're like, whose script was this? Who does this help? Whose future am I actually working for? Yeah? This script have been given where? Where does it fall in? And Kenneth, another alumni of the program, told me, back to the thing we're talking about land, he was just buying land because everybody was buying land. until he paused, until he realized nobody had ever asked him, and consequently, he had never asked himself, what is all this about? Yeah, who am I doing it for? Things that you have to do. What are you, when you show up 8 to 5, wherever you show up 8 to 5, what is it actually building for you? Or are you just in that cycle, earn a salary, and then something actually happens? Am I talking to somebody here today? Yeah. So that's not failure. It's called autopilot. And why Centonomy exists is so that you stop actually living on autopilot. And why is autopilot dangerous? Because you're busy. That's the problem. You're moving, but you're moving fast towards the land of nowhere. Yeah? There are many people, and like when I teach in class, I like telling guys, there are many people driving a luxury car, speeding down the highway of poverty, driving a luxury vehicle. So you have the luxury vehicle, but you're speeding down the highway of poverty. If that salary is interrupted by 1 month, tell me what happens to that vehicle. Then that's not wealth. Yeah, you just look good in this autopilot mode because there's no actual direction, there's no actual progress, and at no time did you ever participate in figuring out what should be the direction or what should be the progress. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I want us to change here today. So underneath all that, what is happening? You are living. You know yourselves. You're here. You're seated right here. You are living. But what is happening underneath? You know how like a duck swims on water looking very calm? But what is happening underneath? Yeah, so with you, what is happening underneath? What are you feel? Ruby started us very well on emotions. And it's important because emotions and money are so interconnected. What are you feeling as you go about your everyday? That is unspoken. You go and have your coffees, you go and have your lunches, you go for your family things, you show up, you go for parent-teachers meeting, you go to class. What are you feeling underneath all that? Pressure? Yeah? Is there some form of anxiety? Yeah? And that's why. Because you know if something shifts, if your employer, how many are employed here? Yeah, quite a decent number. How many are in business? Okay, all right. You know if your employer or your client doesn't pay, your employer tells you, oh, you're expecting your salary on the 30th of the month. There's a problem in the system. And your salary is delayed for 1 more month. What would happen? Or 2 weeks. What would start happening? Yeah, you strike. Yeah, you strike, yeah? But you've always known that should that possibility happen, things in your life, even this life that you like so much, are actually going to shift. If income shifts, what happens? We saw it a lot during COVID. If health shifts, what happens? If a turn takes in the economy that affects your particular industry, what actually happens? Or a tax regulation is put that actually shifts you, what happens? Yeah? A business, what happens? So, things, we are operating, we are living, we are looking good doing it, but can we admit, we all know things are kind of fragile. We never want to admit, because money is a thing people don't want to admit is fragile, but things are kind of fragile. Because resolutions don't interrupt a script. This rat race we have bought into will not change because of a resolution. How do I know this? I was that person. I knew I worked in the banking industry, I worked in the investment industry, at some time I worked in the property industry, I did shares for people for a living, and one day I decided to go start a business. Why? Because I was like, my job, I'm not feeling it. Okay? I'm living dead, all that. And in my head, I made a resolution. The resolution was called the business plan I put together, which assured me of profit in 2 months. Okay, if you've started a business, you all know, please put away that business plan that is projecting up from month number 1. It doesn't happen, yeah? And when I started business, remember I'm walking away having all this knowledge that should ideally have made me wealthy. And what happened? I realized, hiya, there's nobody to pay me on the 25th like I was used to. Because when I was in a job, because it was so precise, it would land on the 20th. Actually, it was the 24th. That we used to go out on the 24th. If it landed, 24th was on a Friday. And by midnight, the money was in the bank account. Because that's the system. So we would go out and rack up bills, knowing we can't pay the bill. But because where we're going out was next to the ATM, at midnight, after we've racked up a bill, we just each go to the ATM and then come back and pay the bill. Can you understand that craziness? That is crazy living. Had anything happened to the system, we'd have to stay there and peel potatoes to earn what we have already spent, yeah? Because I had the investment knowledge. I was helping other people invest. I even did pension funds, unit trust, all these things. You name it, I've done everything. But my daily life was not designed for wealth creation. And that's where I want us to get. How is your daily life designed for those resolutions you have actually decided? With the realization of lunch money, I realized when I had a salary, I was spending 3,000 bob, yeah, which is I think the equivalent of just over 8,000 Uganda shillings. 300 bob a day on lunch, Kenya shillings. That's 9,000 shillings a month, 108 Kenya shillings by the end of the year, close to 3 million Ugandan shillings by the end of the year. Lunch is 3 million a year. Are you hearing me? What can you do with 3 million a year? That's just lunch money. And for you, some of you, your lunch per day is more expensive than what I've just said. Yeah? So just lunch is 3 million a year. If you're given 3 million at the end of the year, what can you do with it? If you're just told, you know what, because you exist on this planet, here is 3 million. What can you do with it? You can go on a holiday. Yeah, my realization was, my heart, I won't lie, was, lunch money is a holiday. Actually, when you look at it like that, daily it's an annual holiday. It can pay school fees, yeah? It can do an investment. It can pay off a chunk of some of these debts that we all have, yeah? But what are we doing with our solutions for debt? Our solutions for school fees? Our solutions for going on holiday? What are we doing with it every day? Eating lunch. Am I telling you to diet? No. I'm just telling you, is there possibly food at home that you could carry for lunch? That's what I did and have been doing ever since. So that moment changed everything. Not because I became instantly there must be a way for daily decisions to actually meet the future that I want. Our daily decisions to connect to a future event. Not a big win that you will get that connects to a future event. And that's why for Centonomy, it's a 12-week class, 12-week program, 2 hours a week, not a 2-hour talk that we're giving today. Because it has to be about habit, as Joshua has talked about. Now, here's what we have seen over the time. We are all making money decisions every day, correct? Decisions to spend. Every day we're making spending decisions, consciously or not consciously, yeah? What to postpone, who to give money to, what to borrow, what to ignore. And some of us are already doing some sort of saving, some sort of investment. What to delay, what story I can tell the school so that I can partially delay school fees, etc. We're all making the phone calls we won't pick up because we might owe the person who's calling us money. It's still a money decisions. But this is the problem. None of those decisions are talking to each other. We are making money decisions in isolation. Spending, you approach your spending like it lives alone. Yeah? This money, all these money things are supposed to be brothers and sisters, but we treat them as strangers. Spending lives alone. Debt lives alone. Goals live somewhere in the distant. The future lives somewhere called someday. That is the future. When are you going to achieve your future goal? Someday. That is your future plan, to achieve things someday. They all live in isolation. And when they all live in isolation like that, where are they? Where is the stress Where is the stress accumulating? Here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah? In your head, painfully, you're aware, correct? Something in my life is disjointed. Yeah? And there's a client who we worked with around her debt, and she said, when I could finally see my debt situation clearly, I stopped panicking. So that panicking you're doing over whatever it is, please understand, is because you are not seeing a holistic picture of how everything works together. How the train leaves from station A and ends up in station B. And once you don't see how the train works together, your decisions are always going to be disjointed. Your resolutions will always be future events that happen someday. Yeah? So she said, and then she paid down a $65,000 debt using lunch money. And the principles behind lunch money. And those daily spending habits that we don't track, but they actually add up. So she took 3 years to actually pay off that debt. Until today, she says, she's still carrying lunch. She's earning more, still carrying lunch, but because she's now aware that she's building something. Because this is also what happens, even if people who have debt. Once the debt is paid off, what happens? They take another one. Because again, debt lived by itself. It didn't work alongside a goal where you see when I pay off debt, the money actually goes to continue paying off goals. So she's still carrying lunch because immediately that money is released for future goals. But it all starts with the daily amount, the daily tracking that we're actually doing. So we've got to think about money and what we need to do with money, not as sacrifice, yeah? But actually as this is now making money actually work for me. Me telling money where to go versus it telling me where it has gone. Yeah? In my book, Making Sense, I write, money is a tool for your life. But in itself, it is actually not that life. Yeah? So you're making it a tool. You don't need motivation around money. You need it, your financial lives to hold together. Are we clear? That's what we need, our financial lives to speak the same language and hold together. So when you hold all these things together, when they start talking to each other, something powerful happens. Your financial decisions stop being isolated. Spending, debt, even the questions you're asking, do I pay black tax? It actually becomes so crystal clear whether it's a yes or a no because of where you're going. Remember what Charles said? The answer is obviously no. It's not that I don't have money. It's that I don't have money to give you. Yeah? Because the money has already been set aside for something else. But when they're living in isolation, that's when you get confused. That's when other people's emergencies become your emergency. Why is your emergency my emergency? I'm sorry you're in an emergency. Is it my emergency? No. Yeah? So patterns become visible. And when I talk about patterns, you look behind and understand, why am I prone to spending? Yeah, and in Centonomy, we even go through what were your early experiences with money, usually shaped in childhood, that cause certain patterns in your life. And when you're aware, you can catch those patterns. I started saving. Remember, I didn't have savings even after working, but I started saving, doing exactly what Charles said today. First of all, I made sure income minus savings is expenses, and I've been doing that, yeah? But I also said when I am paid, the payment enters my savings account, which I cannot access easily, and then I pay my transactional account. Then whoever doesn't get paid through the transactional account, that means that's something I'm not going to spend that month. Yeah? Rather than then my savings actually started growing. Because I never want to remove money really from my savings account. I kind of like seeing the balances there. Yeah? So I never. So removing money from a savings account is mentally, because it's called savings, it does something to you. You know you should save. So you remove for what you need for the month and then leave it. So the trade-offs become conscious. Yeah? So sort of, if I have to not do this so I can do this, it's conscious, it's not emotional. You're not being driven by emotional. Trade-offs are saying no to people as well. Is actually a trade-off you're going to make. Debt stops becoming a secret and something we sit in shame about, and now becomes a project. Handle debt as your project, not something to feel bad about. You're in it, you're in it. There's only one way out of debt, and that is to pay off debt. So many, over 16 years, are keeping us, how do I get off debt? I'm here to give you the one-off answer, by paying it off. Finish. There's no secret to get out of debt, yeah? But the patterns that got you into debt, that is what can work. So you stop asking, can I afford this? You start asking, what am I building? Panic reduces, noise reduces, the anxiety reduces. You stop negotiating with yourself. Should I give them? Should I not give them? Should I go for the salary increase, etc.? You start working in a way, whether it's your job or a business, that is in line with your personal financial goals. If this year I needed to save this much amount of money, how am I performing in my job? So when I ask for a promotion, or I ask for an increase, or I ask for a bonus, they don't look at me and tell me, in fact, you are about to be fired. Yeah, because your performance is lining up with your financial ambitions. Your business is lining up with your financial ambitions. So it's not a surprise. Everything starts talking together. Yeah, it's not about being strict and making sure you don't enjoy life. It's not about that. It's just about being aligned. So even when you choose to enjoy life, it is things that you have decided because you're a human being and you came here the way God made you. That enjoyment is what the things you have in your life. Like I enjoy travel. Me actually, as I said, lunch money was equal to travel. And ladies and gentlemen, I have traveled the world on that principle. Without it, meaning my kids don't go to school, or things can't be paid in the house, or things can't run in the business. But I have traveled the world. So it's about just being clear, but traveling is for me. I don't need to have the big car, but I like to travel. So saying, who am I and what is actually important to me, and structuring my life about it. And real wealth, let me tell you, it is quiet. It is boring. Yeah? See, what I'm saying is not, is it something you can put on Instagram? Yeah? Today I didn't have lunch. I mean, really? Is it Instagram worthy? Yeah? No, it's not. Today, I didn't do this because of this, or this is a decision I'm making. Those are not, they're not sound bites for society. What is sound bites for society? What do people talk about? Who has gone where and has bought what? Yeah? So wealth is boring. I think I need you to understand wealth is boring because it doesn't shout. It is quiet. It's boring until the day it is not boring. Let me tell you, the day it is not boring and you have a crisis and your life is still standing. You lose your job and your life is still standing. Or you decide, actually, I have 1 year, and I know people who have done this. I have 1 year of money I can survive on because of this saving discipline. I can actually take a sabbatical and think about what I want to do next, go back, study a course, etc. So wealth is boring until it's not. Yeah, when you find yourself, you can do this. An opportunity comes up, a really good opportunity, and you find yourself, you're like, actually, I can participate. Actually, I've become that person who can participate in opportunities. A holiday comes, and you can go with peace of mind. Not, or you're dreading when the flight lands at the airport. Because you know the credit card debt you are swiping in that holiday. That you have no idea where it's paying us, because there when you're on holiday, what were you doing? YOLO. Yeah? YOLO swiping. Yeah? Yeah? College knocks. Yeah? For those of you who have kids, you're saying to college, 10 years from now, college will knock. Some of you are already there. College knocks and you're ready. All of us will head here at some point. Retirement hovers, and you look forward to it. You're like, I can't wait to meet my reinvented self, is how you're looking at retirement. Yeah? Can't wait to see what hobbies I like. That is how you're approaching retirement. So wealth is boring until it's not, because it never shouted along the way. Yeah? But money that comes quickly, you spend it on things that look fast, shouts, but it does not sustain. So, I'm not asking you to try harder. Resolutions fail because they're asking people to work harder. to try harder. But wealth is not built by trying. It is built when daily choices, your daily choices, have somewhere to call home. Okay, that is all we're asking. Yeah, that's when wealth is created. Your daily choices have somewhere to land. Your daily choices are accumulating slowly but consistently to something you are working on for the future. And that's what Centonomy 101 exists for. Not as motivation, not as hype, but a guided way to bring your money life together in one place. So your spending, your goals, your debt, your investment, your insurance, yeah, all sits together, yeah? So, and you can please put up the Centonomy slide. If you've been feeling, how does this work together, yeah? If you've been feeling you're carrying everything in your head, if you've been feeling you're ready to stop living by default, if you're young and you listened to Joshua, who started at 25, please understand even those who are young here are not that young. I hope if you're young, you've realized you're also not that young. He was 25 when he did this. So if you want 35 to look like him, please, he's told you exactly what he did. And I think Joshua will agree with me, it's that your money stopped being disjointed. Financial decisions, whether you choose to enjoy or hold back, are not disjointed. Because this is not about not enjoying. In fact, it's about picking the things you enjoy and making sure money can do that while still keeping the rest of life in balance and manageable. Yeah? So, this is where you begin. Centonomy is where you begin. Yeah? And I've told you my motivation was what I discovered as an investment professional of how money should run. Wealth is not something you decide once a year. It is something you learn, you practice quietly, deliberately, every day. And what Centonomy does is give you the knowledge, the tools, and the community, which is very important to do this. You will realize you are not alone. Because the problem with money, people sit thinking they are alone and they are special with their financial problems. You are not special. So you get community around you. So think of it as a wealth planner in a lived form. It's not just financial literacy. It's you, and maybe for the first time, experiencing money as a connected system in your life. Yeah, so how does money connect? And that system is supporting your daily life as well as supporting your future ambitions. So future stops happening someday. So I think if you set a goal and it doesn't change something about you today, then that's not a goal that is going to happen. If I decide, let me use a holiday for example, I'm going to travel to Greece, it will change something about me today. It will mean I start researching, I start investigating, I start saving, I start talking to people who have gone there because they know where to go. You understand, yeah? So a future, if you want to buy a home, you want to buy an investment, you want to build a business, something today has to change because you have made a goal. So future doesn't happen someday. It starts happening in the present, but the tangible object manifests in the future. Do you understand? Yeah, so it happens today. Yeah? So people don't come to Centonomy, as you said, because they know things. They come because their money feels busy, heavy, and disjointed, fragmented. So this is the journey to wealth. So think about it as a journey. It is not a talk. It is not a short video. There is no way we can do what we do in less than 2 hours per week, 12 times. Yeah? Because we are building habit, and habit cannot happen once. Yeah? So the first stage, lesson number 1, is to make you aware. Who am I with my money? Like, it's like money and you are in a relationship. You're already in a relationship. So you live with this money inside your house. But what has been the relationship so far? Money is a person in your house. Tell me about your relationship with that person. Is it fearful? Do you have a nice relationship? Do you say, hey, honey, I'm home? So tell me about your relationship with that person. Yeah? So, first, it's for you to see your financial reality clearly. We avoid that a lot, yeah? Here we build, you start tracking your spending. Yeah, you start tracking your spending, yeah? We also have a tool we'll give you in the class to do this, yeah? And then from there, because there's no point telling you to do a budget if you've not tracked your spending, because then you're guessing. You're doing your best. Oh, I only spent 20,000, whatever, 80,000, whatever on entertainment. Shock, you don't. You're lying when you actually track. You're lying. Yeah, I don't have the problem Charles is saying because I only spend X on clothes. You're lying. Until the day every time you buy something, you track it. Then you'll know really what I'm spending on clothes. And then it shows you where are you, what do you have, and what do you owe. Those are called assets and liabilities. But don't let the term scare you. What do you have? Is it just a bed, as we were being told earlier? Are you the proud owner of a bed? Yeah? But we want to get the financial assets, savings, investments you made. And it's okay if you don't have. It's okay. You're here to admit you don't have. You see, if I'm going to the airport to Entebbe from here, I have to know, I'm at Makerere, correct? I have to know what my starting point is. So all we're doing is identifying your starting point. But what is happening is much deeper than numbers. But it's not, numbers are just numbers. You stop guessing. Immediately stop guessing. You stop using feelings and you start seeing your facts. But, let me be very clear here, without judging yourself. You're just saying, I am here. Yeah? My name is, and I am here. That is all you're saying. And this is where over time we've seen people say things like, I realize I spend faster than I earn. Most people can't save because you're spending money faster than they are earning it. It's a time thing, and we go through that time connection. I didn't realize how expensive my life was. My money disappears quietly. So many times people say, I thought I couldn't afford Centonomy. It's in lunch money. Yeah, even just what I've told you today, that's Centonomy cost taken 3 times over with lunch money. So you can afford it, yeah? So this is where we dissolve condemnation, self-condemnation about it, and awareness replaces avoidance. And I know about avoidance. I used to go to the ATM, I withdraw money, then he asked me, do you want what did he ask you? Do you want your receipt? No. In fact, why you've given me the money I've withdrawn, I have no idea. Thanks. I don't know who's not going to pay it, who didn't bank the check. I'm off to enjoy my weekend. Then we come to time value of money. Time and money have a very, very distinct relationship, but it's just showing you how will the calculations add up to the things you need to do. That's where we start making those small amounts make sense and into the future. You can't tell me you're saving for college fees, but it's today's version of college fees you have used. That's not a goal. That's an impossibility because college is not going to cost the same. School fees is not going to cost the same 10 years from now. Neither is food. Yeah, neither is fuel. So time, it helps you put, time costs money. It will be more expensive. Can we plan today for what it is going to be cost? If it's going to be achieved in 2 years, it will still be a bit more expensive. Bread will still be a bit more expensive. Let's plan for the bread. If it's 5 years, if it's 10 years, so that's actually what happens. But it also creates something immediately for you, something called a safety net, a margin. Yeah? It helps you create something you can fall back on in the short term. If something happens to you, you have 3 months of survival money as you figure things out. Because where we get very destabilized is something has happened today, I don't know how to pay rent. You understand? So let's immediately remove that. Because you're not going to be able to think properly about money if you don't know you have a financial safety net, yeah? We help you start to understand, what about irregular expenses? Some of you it may not be a salary you're on. Maybe, yeah, it hits you every term, but it's not a monthly amount, yeah? Inflation, again, things will go up. How do you manage all that? But what you discover is your stress has not been about a failure issue on your part. It is about a structure issue that has not been there. That is what your anxiety, whatever is about. It's simply a structure, yeah? And you have been living without a buffer. It's like, I'll drive my car without a seat belt. Does that make sense? So we've been driving our financial cars without a seat belt. So we're putting in the seat belt in place, and people start saying, hey, I was one event away from debt before this class. My anxiety comes from not having the safety net, not from laziness. So remove the judgment. And every small 5-year loan, you don't need to take 5 years to pay off that loan. And you shouldn't. Because then you're just working for the financial institutions that are charging you that interest. But here, you now get control over your debt. It becomes governable, yeah? So you stop fearing the numbers debt throw at you, and you start using them. And you'll start saying, people have said, now when I can calculate it, I can see how to pay it. I can control it. I finally know which debt to pay down first and why. This feels, yes, it's a lot, but it's now possible. Again, debt is a project. Yeah, it's treated as a project, not the sum definition of who you will be financially forever. Okay, so debt moves from shame into a plan. Then the fourth, so there are a lot of dissatisfied people who are on this rat race of chasing a new sum of money. So what do you actually want the money to do? So you explore what are what are those things you even have never allowed yourself to name, but you want them. Like travel the world. Yeah, you want certain things for your kids. You want to explore certain things. You want to start certain business. What does it mean for you? Because there's no point having, for me, wealth is not just about having money. It's having money doing the right things for you. Yeah, so if money was given a job description, what would that job description actually be? Truly, yeah? Your goals. We go into how you create income, and Joshua talked about it. What comes naturally with you that you can use to generate extra income every month? I started by writing personal financial articles, even before I started Centonomy, and earning some money by writing personal financial articles. That money started paying for my groceries every month. Just that. Once you discover, and I liked what you did, Joshua, this is the way I pay school fees. I can now pay school fees outside of my salary. Wasn't that? Did some of you sit back and say, what? Did some of you listen and say, he pays school fees? Yeah, me, I started paying groceries outside of salary as well. Because this thing called, so some of you are sitting with skills because you have never seen the potential of what naturally landed with you on this earth. A lot of you, especially women, are using it for friends. Oh, you're so good at planning events. Come and plan my son's birthday party. Okay. That's something you could be charging money for. Yeah. So even notice those things that people have just been telling you are good. Can you monetize them? And you can come to a place of financial esteem, self-esteem around money, where whether I have or I don't have, who I am is the same. Okay? Whether I'm around people who have money and I don't have, who I am is the same. So your identity is also not tied to a financial situation. And truly, that's where financial freedom came. I got financial freedom not from having money, but when I was at my brokest time in life, I had actually asked God, please zap me into heaven. Because how does somebody who can't even withdraw money from the ATM has rejected their attempt to withdraw funds. How? Do they have a right to live? Honestly, I told God, zap me into heaven, and I gave him examples. Elijah, there was no record of death. Suddenly he was in a cloud. Even me, I want to be in a cloud. He didn't zap me into heaven, but he kept a thought disturbing me. You are mentally able. And that's what I used to get up. If I'm mentally able, it means I can go. And what I actually did was starting to attend forums where wealthy people are going, seeing how they think, and started having conversations with people who had actually created wealth, and it led to the birth of a 16-year business about that, yeah? From a lady who wanted to zap herself into heaven. Okay, take that as testimony, yeah? And after you go through living abundantly, you stop saying things, you stop buying approval from other people. You realize your spending wasn't about just spending, it was a value problem. Understanding what is important to you, yeah? And you understand your life must serve you, not impress people. If people happen to get impressed by the way, that's theirs. But it must serve you, because too many of us have become slaves to impressing other people. So money becomes human again. Then at the end, at the investment side, all those investments, Module 5, Module 6, Module 7, is all about investments. I call it building your factory, because you must become a factory owner. But that factory is not a literal factory. It's what works for you. What are the things that the day you don't have that salary, the day you don't have that business, what keeps you going? That is what determines how wealthy you are. So that's what I'm calling the factory. Because the factory, no matter what happens with the factory owner, the factory keeps running. So what is the factory that keeps running for you, no matter what? Sickness, health, etc. Also pays for holiday, etc. in your life. What is your factory? And like building a factory, you have to learn. Remember, we're now talking the same language. How all these fit into your goals. So we learn about bonds. What are bonds? Yeah? Bonds, you're literally lending the government money, but we take you through how it actually works. Treasury bills, you're also lending the government money, but short term. Yeah? We take you through unit trusts. Yeah? Understanding, hey, I can, instead of just keeping my money in a savings account, there are things I can actually use that are still safe, but can earn money higher. You start understanding, if it's school fees for next term, I can't do shares. Why? Because the nature of shares, they fluctuate, correct? So I can't go to the school and say, please give me a discount on school fees because KCB shares fell in value. I can't do that with school fees, yeah? So you start linking the things you actually want to achieve to the right investment. The question is not where should I invest? People ask that all the time. That's not the right question. The question is, which investments are out there that match my goals? Yeah, people are disjointed. Tell me about cryptos. Tell me about fixed currency. Tell me about property. It's disjointed. May I always go back but what are you trying to achieve? School fees. What are you talking? Then why are we even in that discussion? Yeah, it should be somewhere safe. But if you're telling me long-term, etc., there's some things you can afford to take risk on. So you learn about shares. And then the next part, you start to learn about, and in that investment, you stop confusing your lifestyle with security. You start understanding my lifestyle. I enjoy it, but it has nothing to do with my financial security. And this is where people over time have said, Kumbe, my salary is not my safety net. Assets should eventually, this factory I'm calling, should eventually fund my lifestyle. Joshua started with school fees. But what if, and it is possible, and over 16 years I've seen people come back and do it. I have also done it. What if that business, without you working, can actually fund your lifestyle? It can pay you that monthly income every month. What if a combination of all these investments, one day you're retired, it can pay your lifestyle comfortably without you touching your pension fund? Yeah? What if that can happen in 5 years? What can happen in 5 years? You don't have to reach retirement age for this to happen. It can happen in 5 years. So that factory should fund your lifestyle. They start understanding there's some things we've really been taught in life that is the greatest thing to own, like property, like land, like a home. But truly, when it comes to building the factory, maybe that's not the best decision for you at this point. Because a home, you live inside the home. It is not generating income. So at the point of something like retirement, you may have a home, but can you go to the supermarket? Is there a place called home owners pass through? You have a home, but there's no cash to pay for your groceries. So you start putting, because since there's no home owners pass through anywhere, gas station, is there a place called a pump for homeowners where they just fill their cars? So we have to investigate some of these beliefs. I'm not saying a home is bad and a bad expression, but put it in the right place, okay? So the future starts becoming something you build today, not something you hope for. And then the last part, numbers 8 and 9, 10, 11, 12, the last part, I call it the part where after you've done the 7 modules, you're coming back here to put them all together, yeah? Your insurance is about figuring out what do I need to protect as I do this. So So don't just buy any insurance policy that the best salesperson sold you. What do I need protected because of my unique life situation that I use insurance for? Estate planning is legacy beyond me. How do I want to leave things? Do I want people fighting all over the place? Yeah? You now understand taxes and how they work. Yeah? Our goal is not to get you to default taxes, but sometimes we're also being inefficient in some way because of lack of knowledge. Yeah? It's about then you now put this all together in a financial plan. Yeah? So what is really going on? And then if you're in an investment group, we teach you how to use those investment groups because the power of many, if used correctly. Investment groups can either waste your time or be really powerful. Yeah? So you understand what you want to use investment. But what we're really doing with this 12-step program is connecting everything. Debt, your budgets, your goals, your investment, whether you have an insurance policy. They stop talking different languages and going in secret to have secret conversations that some of the times you are not even in the room for that conversation that they're actually saying. And you start understanding, you start feeling connected. People have come back and said, my decisions are connected. I don't have to think so hard every day. My life feels intentional. So Centonomy is not something you just attend. It becomes it becomes a way of life. Yeah, that is what Centonomy is here about, to stop you living by default and to start living intentionally, deliberately. So what we're providing for you is infrastructure for daily life. Yeah? And those of you now joining this intake, you will come out of this with a digital wealth planner that is going to continue helping you monitor. Yeah, don't worry, Joshua, even the alumni are going to have access to it, yeah? So we are putting all this, so even as you're managing your own money, etc., you can keep tracking, you can keep going on, and we have a very, very, very strong community now through our Centonomy Privilege program. So as we said, for us, the community and the ecosystem around you wealth builders is just as important as you first come in to learn the class, yeah? But you have to attend the class first to become part of that community. But you will come out, all this will be on a digital way that you can say, okay, if I'm spending this today, if I decide to make this decision today, it is impacting this choice 5 years from now. You understand? You're like, if I give in today and do this, you can tell the exact impact it's going to have, but it's also now telling you, okay, tracking your goals, where are we? So you stop, it becomes a train you take from here and you land in B. And it's always talking the same language. So I hope that can encourage you. I don't take up too much time because we really have to hear Lisa out today. But I'll get Ruby to come on and actually explain how you can register for the program. But that is why Centonomy has changed lives for 16 years. We have impacted over 1 million people in different ways in different forums. And we're inviting you to please come and be part of that change. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, let's appreciate WACEKE. Okay. So online and here, I can tell when I read the room, you're asking, so this program I have heard from Charles, I heard from Joshua, I've heard from WACEKE, and I will hear from Lisa. How do I register to be able to be part of this? And one of the things that I want to read that was from the online community was, Caroline said, I first heard about Centonomy from Caroline Mutoko about 10 or so years ago, broke, beaten, black and blue by Ugandan unemployment. I can't wait to start on this journey. Now, the reason I have read that is it's been 10 years, just what Joshua said, so you can see the difference. So make that decision today, be intentional. WACEKE has said you have to live intentionally, move out of living by default and live intentionally. So how are we going to do that? So for today, only today, we've given you a special discount on registration. If you register today, you pay only 30,000 UGX. If you register tomorrow, even if it is at 6 a.m., you will pay 45,000 as a registration. And then for the tuition fee, it's usually 1.445 million, but it's payable in installments, as you can see. So you'll pay first installment is 510, 510, and then 425. So I want you to take out your phones even as you stretch. Online, thank you for all the questions you've been asking about registration. Let me just go through that again. You'll be paying only 30,000 UGX to be able to register for the program. You attend class for the 12 weeks, as WACEKE has explained in terms of the modules. And you take 2.5 hours. So every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., you're in class. You join via the Zoom platform, and you go through this journey that shifts your life as far as money is concerned. You move from living by default, and you now live intentionally. That you can sit with some of our alumni today, and you can sit with Joshua, and you can actually stand to the testament of how this changed your life. So just stand up on your feet, stretch a bit as you remove your phones. Let's stretch. I know we've been seated for quite a while. Online, I'm seeing the questions coming through about how to pay. Let me just take you through that again. You register with 30 UGX, and what are the payment details? We are using the Momo platform to be able to pay. So if you'd like to register today, pay to Momo, or rather by Momo, plus 256 76 23 29 170. Let me just read that again. Plus 256 76 23 29 170. And the name you get is Malvin Mashara. So it's legit. I know maybe you might wonder, it's not Centonomy. How it's registered here is Malvin Mashara. It's the right place. You will register for the class, and you can be able to get details. So we came here wondering, how do our daily choices help us to create wealth? You've heard from the testimonial, or rather from the conversations Charles have said. You've seen, and Joshua took us and broke it down intentionally and told us what his before and after was. So it's now your turn, and it's now your turn to make that decision. Remember when you came in the morning, I asked who made a resolution in 2025 January, and how far did it go? Remember, we didn't get to July. So this time around, come and let's give you the structure. Let's enable you to be able to understand how to create wealth. Let's give you that confidence that you stop to feel anxiety when you think about your money conversations, and you understand and you're comfortable. You pay yourself first. So we stop looking at it and saying, oh, once I get my income, what do I do first? I pay rent because the landlord, then I pay power, then I pay water, then I pay, there are many other things. You start by paying yourself first. So income, less the savings, and then expenses. All right, we can have our seats. Thank you so much in the online community. We are answering your questions. We see all the questions, and our team is attending to the questions. So finally, last but definitely not least, we have our final speaker for today. And I know that many of you know her, and you know her well. She's a content creator. I'd like you to just warmly welcome Lisa Mugisa. One more round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Lisa Kusima Mugisa. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, I am a wife, and I am a mom. I've been married 9 years, actually. I celebrated my anniversary, and I have 3 amazing children. Woo, woo. Yeah, thank you so much. And I am a digital content creator, an influencer. Someone was talking about influencers, yes. I'm an influencer, but I'm also a business person. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm excited to be here. My burning desire is to build strong families, and that's why I share content around family, marriage, dating, relationship, and also money, because we need money. And they mentioned a quote. You can put up the slides that I want to just emphasize. I've learned that wealth is not built in January. It's built on those ordinary Tuesdays, those boring Mondays, and those Saturdays at the beach. It's sunny, and you're deciding whether to eat fish or not. That's where true wealth actually begins. And I've experienced this while growing up. A few years ago, or many years ago, my dad lost his job. And our financial, experience went from highs to many lows. And I remember when I was on campus, this one day, I'd been explaining to my dad, tuition deadline is fast approaching. Daddy, when are you sending the money? And if you know UCU, I don't know if anyone has attended UCU. the tuition deadlines are serious. You will not sit for exams. And I remember I got a phone call from my dad, and he said, Lisa, I have failed. You have to look for the money yourself. So I get off, I'm looking at the phone, I'm like, what do you mean you have failed? Like, you're the parent, how can you fail? And where do I actually start from? I remember that feeling all too well, because that meant I was not going to graduate, and yet I was a decent student. My GPA was 4.4, 4.1, 3.9, so I had done my part. So thinking about not graduating, not because I had failed or I had issues academically, but because my dad couldn't afford it, really broke my heart. And I never want my kids to ever feel like that, ever, because that feeling, I was crying and wailing. I'm like, Daddy, where do I start from? And he's like, I don't know, but I failed. And now that I'm a parent, I can't even imagine what he went through as a parent, because he must have looked everywhere, asked everyone, done everything, and to come to that conclusion must have just like a stab in the heart. So as a parent, I'm thinking, I never want to feel how he felt, because it's terrible. But mind you, before he actually lost his job, he was driving the biggest Land Cruisers. You know, we went to amazing school, Kaboja Junior, and I remember after picking us from school, we passed by Zinello's. I don't know if you guys know Zinello's there, to get some ice cream, sandwiches. We had a driver. Life was good. But then he lost his job. And then, recently I actually asked him last year, but Daddy, what was it? Like, how did you actually get to this point? And then he mentioned something that just keeps ringing in my head. Before I lost my job, I don't know if we'll get that opportunity, but I hope we will, because just about does not cut it. And actually, there's a quote that I mentioned in the previous open day, which states that your money decisions today are your children's opportunities or lack thereof tomorrow. Your money decisions today are your children's opportunities or lack thereof tomorrow. That quote lives rent-free in my head. I hope it lives rent-free in your head starting today, because it just keeps me thinking and thinking that the things I do today will actually affect my children. So fast forward, I get married. And when you marry someone who has not experienced some level of luck, they're not understanding why you're insisting that we must invest, because when they have not experienced it, So get married, and we have some really deep conversations, and we decide to make a plan. Now, we decided to have Lisa and Steve at 50. Can we just put it up there? Lisa and Steve at 50. In the both of us, when the oldest is 50, what kind of life do we want to live? I use some AI to I don't know if I'll have all that gray hair, but, what kind of life do we want to see? How old will our children be when we are 50? And we're using my husband's age because he's the older one. So what life do we want? How old? Next slide. How old will our children be at 50? I have 3 children now. So King will be 18. Rain will be 16. Royal will be 13. Where will they be going to school? Now you have to plan and write those things down, because that gives you perspective. How much will it cost? Like she was saying, the school fees of today is not the school fees of tomorrow. So for us, it's 10 years to come. How much will that school fees be? Where do we want to live when we are 50? Now, for some people, you're already building. Maybe you have an idea, but also you can have a dream. Where do you want to be staying? How old will your parents be when you are 50? Because guess who's going to look after them? You. At least for me, I know it will be me. Some of you, your parents are planned, They plan properly. It will be us looking after them. Who will be your friends when you're 50? You have to nurture those relationships now, because no one is making new friends at 50, I doubt. Will you be working, or will you be doing passion projects? Waking up early, 5, you're also struggling like the graduate. Is that what we want? These are things and questions that we asked ourselves, and we began to write those things down. Because when you have that big picture, that means your monthly decisions are going to matter. Your daily decisions are going to matter. Your annual decisions are going to matter. So if I know that in 10 years' time, I'll be paying about $50,000 in tuition annually, something has to change now. So you cannot be living life like, oh, okay, 10 years, it's too far. It goes by real quick. Literally, the year has just started, but we're already mid-month. Like, time goes back really quickly. So you have to think about those things. So when we have our plan, Lisa and Steve at 50, everything aligns to that. Actually, this weekend, we're planning to have our money date, to have those important conversations and plan those resolutions, but everything aligns to Lisa and Steve at 50. What kind of life do we want to live? And how do we make this work? A few things, but the most important is structure. Do you direct your money where it needs to go? When you don't have structure, if you don't direct your money, it will go everywhere else except your pocket. And for us, you can go to the next slide. This is the structure that we use. Now I know we've had all this, but the issue is implementation. 10% we tithe because we are believers. 10% we give because we are not born for ourselves. We are born for the world. You're not here to make money only for yourself. So these are the values that we live by. So we have to have a certain amount of money to give. 10% we save, 20% we invest, 50% we spend. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will go everywhere except your pocket. I'll give an example of giving. Now you have this certain amount of money that you've planned in the month to give, different people or whoever. But then now that money is done. And your friend calls you, urgently. It's an emergency. Oh, Lisa, I need 2 million. It's an emergency. And you're like, you check. You're giving money, it's finished. Then what do? You say, I have some money on my emergency fund somewhere. Let me pick that 2 million and give my friend because, oh wow, I really love them. But remember, you're off budget because the one you were supposed to give is done. Guess what? You've lost interest in your emergency fund, and the emergency fund is emergency for your family, not everyone else's emergency. And it can be a hard truth, for you to say no, but that's the truth. And then you realize that the emergency was they needed to buy a washing machine that you may not even have because you've been trying to allocate finances properly. And now they have bought the washing machine, you've lost interest, you don't even have a washing machine. So is that generosity or are we being emotional? And they promise we shall pay back, but they may not actually pay back. As you know, things can happen. You understand? This is just, in fact, they'll be telling you, but it's just 2 million now. But do you know what that does? Your Lisa and Steve at 50 starts to elude you slow but surely. So it may not be something that happens instantly, but it starts to happen. So have structure. Then you come to, let's say, saving. We have a certain amount of money that we have to save every month. On my end, on Steve's end, then we save together. Have standing orders, things that are just going to help you. Some people may not be disciplined, so let the bank just chop it off and you send it somewhere on another savings account. It really, really helps. There's something my husband keeps saying, the gentlemen have been talking about buy one shirt, etc. Those things can work for men, but when you are a lady, it's a bit hard. Now, for example, I speak at events, I'm doing YouTube every month. My friend, you're not going to be repeating the same shirt you wore, this outfit. This outfit has to first sit for some time. Because you guys are over going to remember it. That's the problem. So sometimes I'm telling Steve, hey, babe, I'm going to speak at Centonomy. What am I going to wear? And he's like, he's saying the wardrobe is full of clothes. He's like, wear that one. Babe, I wore that one 3 months ago. And he says, actually, when you repeat it, it actually proves that it's yours. You didn't borrow. He's like, excellent. It really shows that you didn't borrow it. It's yours. And then he says, a lion is not moved by the opinion of sheep. So many times, we care so much about what people are saying about us. But remember, they don't have your plan. You have a plan. So don't focus on what they are saying. Put on your nice trouser, come and speak, and focus on the plan. You have a leisure budget of 500K per month for going to events, for doing all this. But then your friends call you and say, Lisa, brunch is on. In these days, brunch is 300K, 500K. I'm like, wow, how much do you have to eat? But brunch is 300K. Your budget for the month for leisure is 500. So you've either already used it and there is a little remaining, but because of pressure, you will go for brunch. In fact, the people who will tell you, hey, but Lisa, now you have money, pay for brunch and come. And I loved what he said. I might have money, but it's not for brunch. It's for other things. So we need to be content. They've talked about identity. We need to be content on who we are, in whose we are. Because when we focus on the noise, the Lisa and Steve at 50 begins to elude you. And before you know it, you're actually 49. Now you start panicking. Let's not do that. Have accountability groups. There's a group I'm in where we save a certain amount of money per week, and then we are like 6 in the group, so it's quite a bit. So by the end of the month, it's this one's turn to get that money, So it comes in and you're excited, but where is it going? You don't have a plan. Guess what? The money is going to come. So you know it, you're spending, you're buying a new shoe, you're buying a new iPhone and things like that. It's gone. Have accountability groups and make sure you have a structure before you start getting those windfalls. Because guess what? It's all going to be gone. And you will wonder, where? I had a lot of money. Where did it go? Then when it comes to investment, one of the things that we're targeting is having a certain amount of passive income per month, such that even if we didn't work, our lifestyles would remain the same, even improve. So which investments do you need to actually partake in? And I loved what she says. Don't just go for any investment. Does it actually meet your goal? So for us, that's it. We need a certain amount of passive income per month. So we're going into bonds and all these other things. And when you talk about land, it was actually funny because I had a conversation with Steve just a few days ago about a property that we had, some land there, and he's like, it's been sitting, I think we're going to sell it. And somehow I feel like, but babe, no. When King is older, he might need that land. And then he got there's a calculator, an investment calculator that helps you see if the value of the land is, let's say, 40 million. Yeah? And you put it, let's say, in a bond or in a unit trust, whatever. Put the 12%. In 10 years, that money would be a lot. But if you put it in land, you're not even going to see the land. Squatters are going to come. Actually, it might increase by like 5 million more. Then you realize we have had a sitting asset. So it's important for you to actually go through your assets. How are they performing? Are they bringing in any income or are they redundant? Because guess what? It's not making any money for you. So that land is also going to go. And then we put in things that are going to help us accomplish our goal. Check spending, for example. I loved what they said. That's something that I do. I track every expense. I go for lunch. In my notes, by the way, you might be looking for a big app that's going to help you. Start with what you have. In my notes, lunch, I put 37K. Mobile money charge, 10K. And then at the end of the month, when you're like, but I got some nice gigs, where is all the money? You go back and check your expenses and you realize, oh wow, I spent a lot on this. I spent a lot on videography. I spent a lot on, lunch. Track every expense. Don't leave it to chance, because what gets measured gets improved. If you do not know, you have nothing to change. So at the beginning of the year, you'll make this resolution to save 50 million a year. But then when you look back, you realize, I don't know where that money went. I don't know how do people actually do these things. But it's those small incremental things that you do that actually help you. So track every expense. Have accountability people who are going to hold you and say, personally, I actually love money conversation. I don't mind telling people how much I earn, how much I have, because guess what? You're going to realize when you talk to Charles that you don't have. And then you ask him, tell me, how did you do it? But we're always hiding. Money, I can't talk about that. Money, you can't know. You ask someone, how much did you charge for that? They can't tell you. We need to be open with money, because when you're open with it, let me tell you, money also loves people who love it. But you're fearing, you're anxious about it, guess what? It will elude you, because you will not learn. I am very open to learning. Tell Lisa, Lisa, I've been earning 1 million, so help me, how can... Then you will learn. But if you're fearing, what will they say? They'll say, I'm earning little money. I've undercharged. No, talk. That's where learning comes in. And I love to review all these things, because you set out the year, you do these amazing plans, but then you're not tracking and you're not reviewing. So one thing we do is have money dates, consistent money dates with my husband. And I'm glad that he's also open with his finances. We are open and we're working together because we get to see. So now, this weekend, we're going to review 2025. Were we on track? But if you didn't write down, you don't know if you're on track or not. You're assuming. But if you write down, how much were we supposed to save by the end of the year? Okay? Now, how much did we save now? That helps you to review and say, okay, what can be done better? Maybe, Joshua was sharing, maybe he lost some people during the year and it affected that emergency fund and, so you write those things down and say, okay, can we be more prepared this year for emergencies? Those are things to think about. Always review. You must check after 2 months, what's the indicator that we're on the right track? Because if you don't track, you will not know and you will not grow. And then the other thing is time. And they have spoken about time very well. Remember how I told you how my dad said, I was just about to invest. Honestly, in fact, that week I was thinking about investing. Time. If you don't do it now, the best time was yesterday to make better financial decisions. But the next best time is today. Grab every opportunity. I keep shouting about this on my stories. When I hear about money, there's a new... because there is something to learn. Never be at that point where you feel like, I know it all. For me, I'm doing it. I'm never in that mindset. In fact, I want to take that Centonomy 101 course so you guys, we can come and be classmates. Because there's certain things I want to learn more. We are thinking about, now investing in ETFs and all these stocks abroad. I want to understand better. But how do you do that? By taking every opportunity that you see. Be open to learning. Because if you had invested today, it would be different than when you invest tomorrow. Person who invests now may be much better than the one who invests tomorrow, because time changes and things change. So use every opportunity that you can. Money can come, can leave, but you have the power to change the habits that you make every single day. So you may wake up tomorrow morning and nothing has changed. Your income is still the same. You actually still have bills that you're trying to pay for. But one thing can change: the way you handle your daily habits. Because wealth is not built in January, in one resolution. It's built on those boring Tuesdays that they were talking about, those sunny Saturdays, and things like that. So I want us to just write down just one money decision that you can change. That daily one that you've been abandoning, that you've been living on autopilot. Just one that you feel that you're going to implement in this coming year. Just one. Write it down and be consistent. Tell a friend, this is what I've vowed to do. How can you support me? Don't support me by again telling me, come for this branch, come for this. No, this is the goal. How, tell your environment, because your environment actually affects who you become. If for you, you're doing Centonomy class and then all your friends are on YOLO, trust me, it will be hard. So think about, can I just open up my network, change and, get new people here? Tie on some people. I always tell people, you've seen someone who is doing it well, why don't you tie on them and ask them those questions? Don't, I don't want to say it, but don't say, Lisa, then you say, can we take a selfie? First ask productive things. I saw, how can I, Not in a bad way, but you get what I mean? Your network. Because your network is your net worth. So do those small things daily. And trust me, you will see things changing. And many people will say, it's because you're earning too much. That's why you can give 10%. Never. My first job, I was earning 200, I think 40. The employer didn't want the tax threshold to reach. So they just charged me, they pay me just below it. But when you start the habit, when you have little, you will do it when you have more. So you don't say, when I start making 5 million, I promise I will save. In fact, I will give. No. When you have a structure that you follow, you can make your own depending on your values and your family and your goals. Stick to it. Be consistent. Because after a few years, you'll find that you've actually gone far. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Once again, let's give her a round of applause. Okay, I'll just take one question. If you have a burning question, this is your time. All right, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I want to be brief and ask, how do you employ that division that you put, the 10%, the 20%, in terms of business? How do you employ it in business when you're getting money from a business? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, the business should be paying you a salary. So that's the one that you're doing this for. You're not doing it for the business. No, you don't do that. The business should be able to pay you, even if it's 500K, you're like, okay, now 500K, 10%. What is 10%? 50K, right? I'm going to save it. 10%, another 50K, I'm going to give, or if that's what you're into. Another 10%, I'm going to tithe. So it's the money that the business pays you as an employee, if you're working in the business. If you're not working in the business, that means you're waiting for dividends. So that means you need to have another source of income. And I think it's important because all these things cannot be done when you're not earning, right? So you need to earn. That's where we start from. Where are you earning? And I like to use that analogy of a table. A table has 4 legs. If you have one source of income, in case they cut it off, the table is going to fall. But if you have, 3, it may take a bit of some time, but if you have 4, at least it's more steady. And that's what I keep saying, diversify your income. You cannot be waiting for just your salary because anything can happen. And that's why we're building passive income. That's why I have another business, to support in case content creation, it's a ministry, but in case the brand stop coming, I can't survive. How do I monetize my knowledge? You guys may see me on social media, but there are certain things I'm doing well. I have a network.
Money, yes? I'll put this as a disclaimer. He's 10 years older than me, because I'm 26 and he's 35.
And now, because of where we are at in our lives, he definitely has had more time to make some money. I am where I am, but I'm not doing badly. I'm a lawyer, and in foreign currency, God has been good. But now, when you get into the aspect of marriage, I actually saw this on your story. I've seen that you and your husband have bought money and you've put it together. I recognize that men are a bit interesting sometimes. Maybe it's some, maybe it's mine. But it's because for them to truly open up fully and say that when I went out to work, this is what I came with. And when I'm also, in my mind, I'm saying I've gone out to work, I've done all these things, all these opportunities have come in, this is the harvest that has come. I recognize that there was a bit of hesitation when we were discussing I saw it on a story and said, okay, we discuss what as a household we have in our harvest, yes? And this is what it is. So I just wanted to understand, was it always that easy at the start between you and Steve for you to come and say, this is what the harvest is, this is what we are going to allocate? And I recognize women bring structure, but I just want to understand how that journey was, because I think it's important. Transparency, yes, when it comes to money in a marriage, but then how to arrive to it, because my other mindset now, if we end up not agreeing fully, we are on the journey, but if we don't end up agreeing fully, my mindset is, you know what, Daniela, the other option is you work twice as hard and make as much money, or even make much more money than him, so that you introduce the structure from your money and then he'll get on board. Yeah, I just wanted to know from that point.
You guys have brought me in marriage counseling. Thank you for that. And I think it's a big question that many people ask. For us, our journey is, of course, in marriage counseling, that, you know, what they speak about is openness, transparency, unity when it comes to finances. Two are better than one. Alone, you're going to literally pull, like you're saying, work extra hard. Now kids are going to come. I don't know how you'll be. Put in more. And you get it. It will be tight. You know, so for us, that's how we operate, is unity, transparency. And I am honestly privileged that we're able to both understand that and take it on. Because, again, we follow the biblical principles, and it's really what guides us. So it helps that we are both. Two cannot work together except they agree. And some of those things, if you have those conversations and it's like rough, you're not agreeing, first have some more conversations until you reach some point. But I know for men, even there are some women who will also be like that, who will not want to. So it goes both ways, you know. But what I keep saying, have the mindset of unity and transparency. Just because he's hiding doesn't mean you should hide. Or, you know, again, this is my opinion. Please, you know, do the right thing, even when someone else is not doing the right thing. Because when they see you and you're open and you're working together, they'll be moved and be like, okay. But you see, there's fear. The root cause, I always say, what's the root cause? It's fear. How will I be judged? Men fear, what if she has more money? My masculinity might go a bit. So there's always a root cause. It comes from either fear, from trauma. They saw their mom or their dad not doing it, so that's how they do it. So some things may take a bit of time when they continue to see other men who are open. So again, environment, when they begin to see other families, how they're doing it, their minds get open. But if someone has been walking that journey for 30-something years, it's definitely hard for him to start opening up. So you need to be gracious, keep having the conversations, keep speaking, you know, have people that, I always tell people, it's important that you have people above you, older, wiser, to give counsel. Because if someone is all in all, I know everything, this is how it is, it will be a problem. But when he sees other men being open with their finances, it's like, it's okay. So all those fears have to be dealt with. So honestly, that's what I have to say.
Hi, I just want to add, her question has so many, I just needed to add because it's such an important, this aspect of money and relationships. We could all be sitting here, but we're like, but my true problem is the person I live with, whether that person a husband, a wife, a father, a family dynamic of whatever sort that we're dealing with, that even though we know all this, if we don't deal with that, it's a problem. But first of all, I want to commend you for actually saying it, that the day is ahead, it is you. Because I think especially for women, sometimes we feel we don't have a right to, because we are maybe earning less, for example. Yeah? And I just want to say here, first of all, just because you are earning less does not make you less of a decision maker. Yeah? So that I think one of the problems relationships face is that what does money mean in the relationship? And I think even before you start talking about you do this, I do this, etc., transparency, all that, the fundamental we always have to get to in any relationship is, what does money mean? And let's be very clear. Because once you understand what money means in their relationship, then everybody can understand where they actually play. So does more money mean more control? So if you get to that understanding that in my relationship, more money, the person who has more money needs more control, and this is where women have a problem, is because that was what was established. Then one day the woman is earning more, but suddenly there's a problem because she has taken control over the decisions. Whether it's men, women, as a couple agree, this is going to be the foundation. If more money means more control, then be prepared 10 years down the lane. Whoever has it, which you cannot foresee, it will always mean more money has more control. I'm giving you that because in many relationships, that has been the fact. More money has more control. But for women, when that turns around, then, and it's okay when the men have it because society expects the men to be earning more. Yeah? But when it turns around and the women find themselves a breadwinner, suddenly not only are they going out and working, but they have to deal with this underlying resentment, etc., that is being caused because of that. And also them feeling, is this dynamic really right? So, but it doesn't have to mean more money needs more control. Like what you rightfully pointed out, sometimes somebody is stronger in building structure. I know a couple who, she was not working, she left work to take care of the kids. And they then decided he'll earn the money, but this is how it was done. Since women, we have to start valuing unpaid labor. Because what happens sometimes, you're doing all these chores in the house that are not being recognized. So even if you're not the one earning the salary, it doesn't mean you're not working. I'm yet to meet a woman who's not working. Yeah, because you're taking care of so much. Yeah? So they decided when your salary comes, out of your salary, X is mine, X is yours. So it is our salary. Because recognition that I still do laundry, I still make the kids, etc., while you're out at work. Then because of her unique strengths in structure, she's the one who would go out and look for investments. And right now, 15 years later, they are financially free. Not just because of his money, her work. I'm going out to look for the property, I'm dealing with the investment managers, etc., etc. So this money relationship can come in different forms. But the formula at the end of the day, and it's not today. You won't go home today and say, our formula is this. But I'm just telling you where ultimately, through a series of discernment, actually it's discernment you use at what step to take at the right time, yeah? Where you're going to get to is understanding in your relationship, what does money mean? And then the formula is, let's be very clear, what is mine, what is yours, what is ours? Not everything works for everybody. I have seen people, 16 years has made me see a lot. I sometimes feel I'm a therapist, yeah? Some people have tried, everything is ours. We have visibility over everything. They are going to kill each other. That is just a recipe for murder of two happening in the house, yeah? So you have to be very honest, know yourself. Some people still require a certain level of independence. And sometimes when someone is holding back, what they're really saying is, I don't want my independence even to make decisions interfered with. That's the signal they're actually sending. But that's not the formula. The formula is agreeing based on where we want to go. What is yours? You go play how you play. What is also mine? So that it's also clear. When I buy a new pair of shoes, I don't want to also be asked, where did you get the money from? And then what is ours? What are those things we're committing to work together? You bring this, I bring this. Where it came from, we don't have to, but you brought it. Yeah? If you didn't bring it yet, I've seen you've gone on a golf holiday, then you see there's a problem. But if you brought it and you're still doing with TV, because I've learned people have individual things that one human being is never going to understand. So one human being may never be able to understand why you want to develop your career further and take a course. So there are some things that you may decide, this is going to be my decision. Because at the end of the day, your financial life still, the responsibility of it still lies with you first. Then if somebody is coming in as an aligned partner in that financial life, it is fine. If together you are also building a financial life together that is clear, you have defined it. But it's all about, as for the conversation, start slowly. Today you don't go and say, unleash the 12 modules of Centonomy 101. Say, by 7 p.m., we should have figured out our estate plan. Yeah? You're like, where we are now, what's the next conversation you should have? You don't have the same language. And we may have gone for marital counseling, but they didn't address this. You are not speaking the same language. What spending means to them is not what spending means to you. What saving means to them, etc. Your backgrounds are talking. So the conflict comes because your money personalities are clashing. So how do you make those personalities work? Not one big conversation. What do we need to do? Is it school fees? What's the next step? Let's find one thing that we can work on together. Is it a holiday? Then by that, you start observing each other. Then I love what Lisa has said. I don't know where she's there, yeah? Money dates. They are the most uncomfortable things when you start them. They are most uncomfortable, but it's okay. Have your 15 minutes of discomfort and move on. But you don't do one. The next one is easier. Then you're like, okay, we did this, etc. We did this, this. I must say this, if there are underlying issues in the relationship, money is going to be the symptom, not the disease. So if you do need to sort out other things going on in the relationship, please don't think you can hide behind money. It is always the symptom, not the disease. So those also, if there's a trust issue, you're not mischievously going to be transparent with somebody about your money, if there's already a trust issue. So I think money exposes what is going on in relationships. You can't hide, resolve those things. Be willing to work one step at a time. Still understand in a relationship you are still responsible for your financial life. Someone doesn't want to set up an emergency fund, does not mean you don't set up an emergency fund. Yeah? If they are aligned on it and have understood the need for it, well and good. But does it stop you from not putting your life at risk because someone else has not yet come to the table on that decision? And then ultimately you're trying to get to mine, yours, see. I forgot to mention, we have a bonus class in Centonomy 101. We ran an extra session on money and relationships. We have me coaching it as well as a colleague of mine who's male, because women need to hear the man's perspective, but men also need to hear the woman's perspective, because we are not made the same, so there's just simply a way. Men are and we do both. Apart from that, we also do a lot of forums around women and money and forums around men and money. And I can tell you, everybody wants the best thing in their relationship. It's usually just a communication issue. Men, they have been wired to provide, etc., so they're still struggling a lot of that. Women, we've been wired to take care and role play and make sure everything is okay for everybody. So it's very interesting what comes up, and people are like, now I see my husband in a new light. Now I understand my why, etc. Can we do this completely together, or do we say this is together? This is you go do you, live your best life. may I do this, as long as the joint. I believe it is extremely powerful for couples to be working on something together, a movement together. It is extremely powerful when they can do it in an aligned manner. Sorry, I just had to chip in on that because money and relationships is so deep. It is so asking. And of course, in the Centonomy program, we also do tackle that as a separate session. It wasn't in the models because we call it a bonus.
Thank you so much. And I saw there were a few more hands. Lisa is here for a few more minutes, I do know, so you can just catch up with her, just in the interest of time. I just want to also appreciate Lisa. The online audience is saying thank you so much. You brought us here and you've shared such good nuggets. So thank you. All right. So what are some of the unique things that you have had today? You must have a goal. Lisa said it. Sheke said it. Joshua said it. So you must, even Charles mentioned it, yeah? So you must have a goal. Number 2, in the various different ways they said you have to track your expenses. Every expense. Not some expenses, not the ones you want to face in the mirror, but the others you want to hide up chini ya maji, every expense. And one bonus that we really, really loved, and even WACEKE has repeated, have money dates. And it's true, they may be tough in the beginning, but as you get used to it, they then become comfortable conversations that will actually help you to achieve your goal. So once again, if you haven't registered, I don't know what you are waiting for, but I will give you another 2 seconds. Just go ahead and register. And you know, when we started, and what our theme was the daily choices that will help you to create wealth. And this is definitely one of them, that you even make a decision to come and learn about money, especially in our African setting where money is sensitive. And we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to look like we are discussing too much. Just as Lisa gave a really good example here, you don't want to say how much you earn because you know the answer to it. But isn't it a beautiful way to switch that and think, imagine, just the example that she gave, if you talked about it and you realized, you are not making much. Please register for the class. It starts on the 3rd of February, that specific Tuesday, and continues all the way for every Tuesday for the 12 weeks. 6 to 8:30 p.m., just 2.5 hours of your time. And you begin to learn how you can actually be able to change your life a day at a time, just a day at a time. How you can create wealth and be able to actually live abundantly. All right. So that you can, I know you've heard from Joshua, but I want you guys to meet another group of people. Last year in September, the guys that joined the class are here today to graduate. So I just want you to really, really shout and scream and clap for them, okay? When we're calling them up here, so that they can feel loved and celebrated and appreciated, but more so because they really did a good job. They showed up every 2.5 hours, every week for 12 weeks. I know it wasn't easy. Well done. Congratulations to our 3rd cohort of the Uganda class. We really, really appreciate you. Give them a better round of applause. Listen, in May we'll be clapping for you. Can you clap harder? Clap, clap, clap. Yay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll ask my colleague just a moment as I wait for WACEKE. They'll come up here and receive their certificates and a token, and then we can have 1 tiny minute to speak to one of our alumni. So one of our alumni is also here, and she just wants to say hello to you just before we end. So as we wait for WACEKE, you can be registering for the class online. Thank you so much. I'm seeing your registrations. Please keep registering. Let's come and change how we've been doing things. Let's change every day. Our daily habits are what is going to inform. And remember what we talked about, 10 years is not that far. When you look back, you will see the difference. So for our speakers, I know we have a token of appreciation. I'll just ask my colleague, if you can hear me, to just help us with the tokens for our speakers so that we may be able to appreciate them as well. All right, so I'll call WACEKE to come up here. And then yeah. All right, so Dorcas, you can call the first person to come and receive their certificate.
Beth Rosalie Nakayenze. Okay, guys, we're clapping hands for
Yeah,
Beth.
we're clapping for Beth.
Even
Until she gets to the stage, I think. All right. And right there, you'll have a picture moment. Oh, yeah. Congratulations, Beth. Next on, we have Birunji Helga Victoria. Pardon? Congratulations, Victoria. Dafin turi hohabwe. Dafin turi hohabwe. Dafin Ani Ntabadi. I hope I have not killed your name. Dafin Ani, well done. Congratulations. Up next, we have Jaren Mwanika. Jaren Mwanika. Janet Bagaya. Janet Bagaya. Judith Aijuka. Who is it? Judith Aijuka Katongole. Congratulations. Kadechera Sheila. Congratulations. Matovu Alvin Muwonge. Matovu Alvin, congratulations. Next, we have Cynthia Hope Munguchi.
Keep clapping, keep clapping.
Mwebesa Lena Kugonza. Mwebesa Lena. Is she here? Okay. I think there's someone who's speaking it on her behalf. All right. Nadia Muchunguzi is next. Nadia Muchunguzi, congratulations. Next we have Nalukenge Jenina. Nalukenge Jenina. All right. Namugalu Aisha. Namukisa. Nalukenge. Your name is? Aisha. Okay, where are we? Nadia is up? Okay. Where is Aisha Namukisa? Okay. Okay. Rebecca Okapes. Rebecca. Rachel Kobwesije. Sanyu Lubega. So Rachel Nanteza. And last but not least, Vanessa Basuta. So in case you're in the room and you're graduating, but I didn't read your name, please notify me, because that means that was only for the people who... Your name is? Lydia. You too? Okay, that means we didn't capture your details at the reception. So
Yeah, give us a
just
moment.
give us a
We'll
minute.
organize for it.
You are Lydia, and you are? Ni-
All right.
Yam- Question. Questions? Ma-
Right. We now want to gift our speakers. So WACEKE, just stand there for a few minutes. Right. So yeah, just as a reminder, the class starts on the 3rd of February on the Tuesday, and we are actually expecting you in class from 6 to about 8:30, where we begin the very first conversations are just for you to understand, just off the conversations that we had today. How are you managing your money? Do you understand where your money goes? I know most of us have a lot of conversations around, I know I'm paid, but by the 17th of every month, I have no idea how I got there, but I can't even get money to go to work. So those are some of the experiences that I know we've had, and those are things that we will actually discuss in class and help you to be able to walk that journey like Joshua did and all these amazing graduates. So, Marcius, please come and receive your certificate. And then Lydia. All right, let's clap for Marcius. Right, one more time, let us just celebrate season 3 of the Centonomy Uganda 101 program. Congratulations to each and every one of you. More than just the certificate and the token that we will share, please remember, it's all about implementation. So it's great that you have that certificate with you, but if you don't implement, you may not get through the journey of speaking to us one day, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years later and telling us what you've been able to do, yeah? So please make sure you implement. All right, we would like to appreciate our speakers for today. They gave us all the sound bites. They took up work. They researched. They told us their own personal stories. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, I'll ask Lisa to come and receive her token of appreciation. Thank you so much for taking your time, for coming to speak to us, for preparing, for always sharing even with your followers around money and what we are doing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Give her a better hand clap than that. Awesome. I'd like to call Joshua to also come and receive his token of appreciation, even as I appreciate him for that even over 10 years, he still continues to have a relationship with us. He's still happy to come and share his journey. It's just a testament that Centonomy is actually a way of life, and you continue to live it as you continue. Now, as we wind up, we are calling one of our alumnus. Her name is Angela. Angela, just come real quick to just share with us what your 2 minutes, even as we finalize.
It's a good afternoon to all of us. I was in season 2. We just created it last year. And I'm glad and excited for all of you that have made that choice, first of all, to come and be here. That's one tick for you. And I have a product, basically, because of that class. It's an expense tracker. Those of you who are going to be lazy to use your apps, you want to start raw and real, I have a copy for anybody that will be interested at only 20,000. They told us, don't hide your businesses. This is one of the products of Centonomy. And yes, I'm also signing up for the entrepreneurship class next because I finished the 101. Thank you so much for the initiative. And just to give an applause to all of you, decisions are made by you, not anybody else. If you're waiting for somebody to decide for you, me, I've seen my figures grow for the last 4 months. I'm not struggling anymore because my mindset took the wildest shift after the sessions. Thank you so much. I'm a public servant at that, a veterinary doctor. So this is side income because of the classes. Thank you.
Angela, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking your time this entire morning. Indeed, you're a purposeful person. You took your time, you came, whether online or physical. I just want you to now give yourself a hand clap because from today, your life has changed. And I pray that it has changed for the better. And you'll now go ahead and begin to have honest and positive conversations around money, that you'll no longer feel negative or frustrated or feel like, there's a lot of shame associated with money. Instead, that you would turn and begin to think about it from a positive way. You'll attend the class and be able to change your life, change your money, and even the people around you. So once again, I'd like to really, really appreciate each and every one of you for coming in today. Make sure you register for the class, just 30,000 UGX, and we'll be able to start having conversations with you February 3rd. We start our classes punctually at 6 p.m. East African time, so welcome, and let's walk through this journey together. Finally, as we wind up, I just want to appreciate all our suppliers. Thank you so much for working with us. Thank you for this venue from Makerere. Thank you so much to Penda and your team. We really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And finally, we wouldn't have done it without the Centonomy team. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to release you and tell you, God bless you. All the best in the journey. See you in class. I who was hosting, my name is Rubin Jonjo, and what a pleasure it has been to be able to celebrate this beautiful Saturday with you. All the best and goodbye. Online people, goodbye as you exit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Leaving, I mentioned that WACEKE is an author, so if you'd like to pick up a copy of her Making Sense book, a very practical book that's out of African stories to be able to understand how to manage your money, feel free to walk to the registration desk and we'll be able to receive you. If you'd like to get a receipt for your registration, you can also pass through the registration desk and they'll be able to provide that for you. All right, bye.
Mm.